Dr. P.C. Singh, Dr. Vichara, Professor Norman Burki, Dr. Simon John, Srimati Shreya Benjamin, Professor Jordan Beatty, most distinguished friends of Vichara, CCA, brothers and sisters. I think we are very lucky to have the time and presence of Dr. P.C. Singh with us. Professor Norman Burki told me that it was very difficult to get him in Kerala at this time, but very graciously he came and spent the time. Yesterday we had some time with him, with Bishop Thomas, Right Reverend Dr. Thomas Unnen. And then this morning, again, we had some time with His Holiness Catholicos Marthoma Matthias Paulus II. So that was a wonderful time. Thank you, Right Reverend Dr. V.C. I'm asked to be the chairperson here, but it's only a formality, I understand. I know that a lot of learned papers and discussion will be in this seminar. So I don't go into take a long time to present my theme. I will simply take hospitality, which is very closely related to the act of receiving the stranger. And first of all, I would appreciate the very genuine and remarkable work being done by the Vichara team. Fortunately, I've been associated with them for the last 2 decades, and I still continue to appreciate the ferment which they put in our, because there are not many persons and church circles and agencies which really think about the meaning of the gospel today in our contemporary situation. There's a lot of rhetoric, but here there's a real attempt to do that. I'm also happy that CCA has cooperated with that. And of course, Dr. P.C. Singh is a connecting link, CCA, NCCI, and Church of North India and other churches. I would call Christian hospitality or the gospel hospitality as a subversive hospitality. Because hospitality is nothing particularly Christian, you know. In all ancient cultures, it's an abiding virtue, it's a great value. Although the style and mode of hospitality may differ from one culture to another. If you look at the definition of hospitality in a dictionary, you would simply say the act of being friendly and welcoming to guests and visitors. It can also mean nowadays food, drink, entertainment, etc. that an organization provides for guests or business partners. If you look at the internet resources, hospitality is very often associated with hospitality industry and hotel management. There is very little mention of this ancient value with the attention. And there is no mention of the stranger in those definitions. Of course, hospitality business is flourishing, and they treat their visitors or their clients in a very subtle, gentle, polite way, but they are all objects of the industry. Visitors, the clients, the guests are being exploited for more and more profits. So this is the opposite of the original meaning of hospitality. That's what I wanted to convey in this short time. The book of Genesis, chapters 18 and 19, provide us with 2 examples that starkly contrast with each other. In the first example, chapter 18, you see Abraham receiving the 3 strangers, the passers-by, with great care the love and devotion that he offers hospitality to them. In the next chapter, chapter 19, you see the same strangers being received by Lot, very well received in the city of Sodom. But the men of Sodom came to the house of Lot and they tried to break in aggressively and to take these men out for sexual exploitation. These are two examples, hospitality and inhospitality in their extremes. The stranger in your midst is a continuing slogan in the Old Testament. It's a major biblical theme for us. I just quote from Leviticus, which is known to you. When an alien lives with you in your land, do not mistreat him. The alien living with you must be treated as one of your own native born. Love him as yourself, for you were aliens in Egypt. That is the basis. We are all aliens. We are all guests at some point in our life, at some time in history. So treat each other as we are all aliens. And the New Testament carries that message that we are all aliens. We are all on pilgrimage. This is not our city. We have no abiding residence here in the world. So hospitality to the stranger, according to our present understanding of receiving our equals, the social equals, is a contradiction in terms, because you receive your friends, your family members, and your business associates who are all socially almost equal to you. But when you receive a stranger, you do not know his status. You do not know where he comes from. He is not your equal in any sense. So, offering hospitality to a stranger is a contradiction in its terms. But divine hospitality, God's hospitality is exactly this, that God offers hospitality to the weak, to the vulnerable, to the oppressed, and to the outcast. This is the hospitality of God, which Jesus demonstrated in his teachings and in his practical life. A very good example is the one about the banquet. Jesus in Luke 14, Jesus says, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, or your relatives, or your neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Look at the receptions happening all around the world in our own community. Is there any example of someone following this? No, not at all. Some of you may remember the writings of Jacques Derrida, the modern philosopher, French philosopher who died very recently. He wrote extensively on the theme of hospitality. He is born in a Jewish family. He came from North Africa to France as an alien, in a way as an alien, as a cultural outcast. But he established himself in France, in Paris, in the cultural fortress of France. As a Jew, he was discriminated against, so he knew what hospitality meant. His philosophical writings are a bit abstract, but he started out of his experience. And he proposed what is called unconditional hospitality. Hospitality which has no limit, no conditions are imposed on it. And this is reminiscent of what Jesus said 2000 years ago. When you invite people to a banquet, don't invite your friends, neighbors, family members, invite the lame, the crippled, the blind, and then you will be blessed. In defining what is fasting, Prophet Isaiah asks, "Is it not to share your food with the hungry and provide the poor water or shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood." I remember in the Orthodox prayers in the Lent, this is being repeated almost every day. But how many of us pay attention to that? We fast, yes, we abstain from food of different kinds, but we don't pay attention to this, unfortunately. Now Jesus takes up the same theme when he announces his mission in Nazareth in Luke 4. And also when he foresees the scenario of the last judgment in Matthew 25, again familiar theme. There he is not asking about the doctrinal accuracy of our teaching or belief, but I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was in prison, I was sick. This is the theme. The seminary, I had been a teacher of Christian doctrine, so I am a bit embarrassed whenever I read this gospel part in Matthew 25, because Jesus is not going to ask the precision and accuracy of my doctrinal teaching here. Now the word hospitality is very interesting if you look at some of the ancient languages. I invite you to briefly look at Latin, Greek and Sanskrit. What does hospitality mean? The Latin word hostes is at the root of hospitality. And there is a series of words like hospital, hostel, hospice, and there are also words like hostile, hostility. They also come from the same root. It is interesting that the word guest and host are interchangeable in the Latin language. I remember when I was a theological student in Paris many years ago, outside the dining room in our hostel, there was a board, and the students had to mark the food, the meals they take every day, or meals they do not take. And there was a column for guests, but in French it was written H-O-T-E-S, hôte. In French language it is pronounced hôte. It simply means host. And I was just starting to learn French. I was confused. Why for guests the word host is written? And later I came to understand that in Latin and in Latin languages like French, guest and host are interchangeable. You could be, this is the original, this is the primordial condition that in our usual understanding, a host can dominate the guest. The guest can be at the mercy of the host. The host may say, well, be at home and be at ease. This is your house. But the host is the dominant figure. The guest is passive. The guest is at the mercy. This is an extreme case. But here, if you interchange the words guest and host, both are active, both contribute, and there is a certain hospitality which takes place on the same ground with full equality, sharing and mutual respect. And this is the original meaning of the word hospitality. If you look at the word in Greek, the word even today, modern Greek, it is philoxenia. Philoxenia literally means love of the stranger, love of the foreigner, love of the alien. It's not the love of your friend, not the love of your sister or wife or husband. It's the love of the stranger. The philoxenia. There's a very famous icon in Moscow, is still kept there. It was done in the 15th century by the famous Russian artist monk Andrei Rublev. Some of you must have seen that. This is considered to be one of the most celebrated icons in the Orthodox world. Now this is simply a representation of the hospitality of Abraham. The Christian fathers from very early times interpreted the hospitality of Abraham as the mystery of the Trinity. Because in the Trinitarian mystery of the Father, Son and Holy Spirit, equal footing, three distinct persons, but one God. So how do you negotiate between unity and diversity, between oneness of God and the distinction of the three persons? This is an absolute example of hospitality. So that is how hospitality of Abraham, receiving three strangers, became the prefiguration of the mystery of the Trinity. I just casually refer to it. Now, in Sanskrit, you all know the word for guest is Atithi. Atithi etymologically means one who comes without tithi. Tithi is the appointed date, is the appointed time, tithi. Atithi is one who comes without appointment, without any previously agreed upon agenda. So we are familiar that beggars and bhikshus come to our doorsteps almost every year without looking at the convenience of the householder. And in India, from very ancient times, the householder is told, Adhiti Devo Bhava. Whoever comes to your house as a guest, could be a beggar, could be someone more sophisticated, but he is or she is God. Adhiti Devo Bhava. And then you are reminded of the rule of Saint Benedict in the West, who started the monastic movement in the 6th century. In his famous rules, he instructed the monks, consider every guest who comes to the monastery as Jesus Christ. This is exactly Adhiti Devo Bhava. And I have always wondered how the monastics took hospitality as a prime virtue. Because when you go to some of the monasteries in Egypt, people who live without anything in the desert, they are supposed to be hospitable. So the conviction has grown in me that the poor are the most hospitable in the world, not the rich. Not the people who possess are the most hospitable, the rich, then the poor who have nothing are the most hospitable. This is God's hospitality. God emptying himself, becoming poor, and then offering hospitality. That is the theological connection there. Now I will finish by repeating something about the subversive character of the hospitality of God through Christ. Take for example the parable of the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan is a blecher according to the Jewish people. He is not to be dealt with. He is an outsider, an outcast. But in his parable, in Jesus' parable, Good Samaritan becomes an ideal figure. And for the last 2000 years, everybody admires Good Samaritan, who for Jews, for Jesus' own people, was an outcast, was a person to be condemned. But he became the ideal figure. And so, if you look at the logic of our worldly wisdom and our values which we cherish, and what Christ told us is foolishness. What people follow, when people follow Jesus Christ, they are committing foolishness. And take the example of the shepherd who leaves 99 healthy sheep and goes after one little lost sheep. If in a modern business firm, if you have 99% of profit, you consider 1% loss as nothing, negligible, you write off. You will consider that. Here is one who leaves 99% of profit and goes after the lost one. Again, a subversive action, a subversive message for our world. And then these are parables. Take the case of the Syrophoenician woman. Syrophoenician is a Gentile for the Jew. She is not to be dealt with. But Jesus, we see the strength of her faith. The centurion, the Gentile, again, is given the gift of healing because he believes, and their faith is far nobler than, far greater than the faith of his own people, the Jews. So again, very subversive. So Jesus was liberating the whole idea of hospitality from its narrow social, ethnic, male-dominated prejudices and hierarchies. This is the essence of hospitality for us. We are so familiar with the gospel narrative that we have become, our sensitivity is blunted now. So the challenge for us today is to interpret this hospitality in view of changing our present geopolitical order, our economic systems, and our general mindset. The huge waves of migration occurring in our world today because of war, racial violence, natural disasters require us to rethink the implications of true hospitality. We need to see God's design to renew the face of the earth. Those large-scale migrations are happening with a lot of suffering for the people who are involved in that. Modern society in Europe and America are divided now, I have quoted a personal example in many meetings, but I repeat it again here to conclude. There is a retired Lutheran bishop in Germany, in the city of Göttingen. He was a long-time friend in the World Council Church. We worked together in the Central Committee, we were in other committees. Very, very good friend. He came to India once. Whenever he saw me in a meeting, he would say, Father George, come to Germany and stay with me. I have a big house and you have enough room. Come to Germany and stay with me. And he was very sincere about it. But I could never go there. But 2 years ago, I went to Göttingen University for just lectures, and I found that Bishop Kottayam is living in the same city. He came to the lecture hall, and then he invited me to a restaurant for lunch, but he never invited me to his house, which was nearby. And I was wondering what happened. I was a bit embarrassed to ask him why. But the professor at the university, Professor Tanke, told me that his house is now given over to a family of refugees from Syria. He and his wife lives in one room downstairs. The whole upper floor is given to the family. Husband, wife, and 2 children. Having no language, no German knowledge of German language, coming from Syria, they are Muslims. And here is a Christian bishop who has given his house to an alien family. To a family which did not belong to his religion or his culture. And then I thought, of course, he would invite me to his ground floor at least. And then I learned that his wife, Bishop's wife, is teaching German in 2 sessions every day to the Syrian and Iraqi refugees. So the whole house is completely taken over by this. And this deeply touched me. I thought, I was just thinking, never do that, never do that. And here is someone who is doing it literally. And I look at the scenario in Europe in the next 20 years or 30 years. A major Muslim population who are citizens of European countries, who are well-fed, who are earning money, educated, etc. And a minority Christian group, they never go to church, the churches are empty. What would be happening in Europe in the next 25, 30 years? But Bishop Koppe is totally, he just brushes aside my Christian. He says, we are doing the gospel instruction, Jesus Christ, our Lord. He doesn't care for the consequence. And this is what Bishop says, unconditional hospitality. It is a challenge for us. is a challenge for us. And the hospitality of Jesus, the banquet in which people from the east and west, south and north all participate, irrespective of their beliefs, their religion, their culture, their dress, their costumes, etc. But who are missing? Who are missing ones? The missing ones may be the children of the house who claim the throne, who think that they are the natural inheritors of the house, and they are out. Thank you.
Thank you, Consultation, for the inspiring word.